Exposed, incredible nurse reveals shocking truth behind my wife's affair, baby a 9-month secret. James stood in his garage, the familiar scent of motor oil and grease comforting him on that sunny Saturday afternoon. He had just finished fixing an old Chevy when his phone buzzed. Glancing at the screen, he saw an anonymous message that made his heart race. It felt like a punch in the gut. "Sarah has given birth to a baby that isn't yours," it read, "the fruit of a 9-month affair." The words cut through him like a jagged knife, leaving a raw wound of disbelief and fury that it didn't make sense. James had always believed in hard work and family values. He had served proudly as a veteran, everything in his life was built on trust and loyalty. They were supposed to be happy, raising their 2 children, living in this tight-knit community in Ohio. It felt surreal, the ground beneath him slipping away as confusion and rage filled the void where love once dwelled. The neighborhood, once a comforting haven of picnics and block parties, morphed into a stage where whispers echoed through the air like heavy fog. How could Sarah betray him? The day faded into an agonizing night, and as the stars twinkled eerily above, James steeled himself for the confrontation he never wanted. He had to look her in the eye and demand the truth. The moment was electric when James confronted Sarah. They faced each other in their living room, the walls echoing memories of laughter and joy now tainted by suspicion. Her eyes shimmered, a tempest of emotions swirling in their depths. "Is it true?" he asked, his voice trembling as his heart raced. Each word hung heavy like lead. James felt tears prick the corners of his eyes as memories flashed: happy family dinners, their wedding day, the laughter of their kids. Where did it all go wrong? The tension crackled like static, but Sarah stood silent, the truth clinging to the air between them. Days turned into an abyss of torment. Friends and neighbors rallied around him, offering support, but the gossip was a bitter poison. It seeped into his consciousness, gnawing at him, questioning everything he had worked so hard to build. How could he protect his children from the fallout of grown-up mistakes? It was a relentless weight pressing upon him, testing him to uphold his family's honor while wrestling with Sarah's betrayal. Just when James thought he could breathe again, Carla, the empathetic nurse from the local hospital, reached out to him. The connection between Carla and Sarah only deepened his uncertainty. Was their bond deeper than professional courtesy? He felt his heart clench once more, another layer of distrust slipping into the fractures of his family's foundation. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he stood at a neighborhood barbecue, the scent of grilled burgers filling the air, a flicker of determination sparked within him. This wasn't just about confronting infidelity anymore. This was about the very definition of love, forgiveness, and resilience. Can they come back from this? Can healing emerge from betrayal, or was this the beginning of the end for his family? The whispers lingered, and with each fleeting moment, James felt the chilling grip of uncertainty tighter around his heart. Secrets loomed like shadows, and with his world hanging in the balance, he pondered the ultimate question: can love survive in a labyrinth of lies? James stared at the ground, the laughter of neighbors ringing in his ears, feeling utterly disconnected. The aroma of grilled meat and the sound of children playing brought back memories he desperately wanted to cling to, but he felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, peering into an abyss. Everywhere he looked, reminders of his life with Sarah floated like ghosts, taunting him with a sense of normalcy that felt impossibly far away. His fingers clenched into fists as he wrestled with his emotions. Could he ever trust her again? The questions burned in his mind like a wildfire. He watched as Sarah held their children, their innocent laughter contrasting sharply with the storm brewing in his heart. It was like watching a beautiful painting gradually lose its colors. How could she do this? How could anyone choose betrayal? In that moment, his phone buzzed again. He hesitated, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. Another anonymous message. But this time, it was from Carla. James, we need to talk. I have information about Sarah. The urgency in her words sent ice through his veins. With a deep breath, he excused himself from the barbecue, the laughter and chatter fading as he stepped away. He found a quiet corner behind the garage. What could Carla possibly know? He hadn't considered her a potential ally until now, his mind racing with possibilities. Did she know about the affair? Was she wrapped up in it as well? His heart thumped loudly in his chest as he typed a quick response, agreeing to meet her later that evening. As night fell, he felt like a moth drawn irresistibly to the flame of truth. The streets were bathed in streetlight, casting soft halos that did little to cut through the darkness in his heart. He arrived at the small diner where Carla had suggested they meet. The neon sign flickered, reflecting his unease back at him. What would he gain from this conversation? Or was he merely digging deeper into his own pain? Carla was already seated in a booth at the back, her expression tight with concern. He slid into the seat across from her, feeling vulnerable before her probing gaze. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I need to know what you know about Sarah," he replied bluntly, urgency lacing his words. "Is she?" He stopped, the rage bubbling up in him. "Did she betray us?" Carla's eyes glanced around, ensuring their words were protected from any prying ears. "It's not just about what I know. It's about what I've seen." She took a breath, gathering her thoughts, rolling her lips together. "I've seen her with someone else. She didn't try to hide it." Those words struck him like a hammer, sending shockwaves through his entire being. Betrayed, deceived, he felt the full weight of it crashing down. "I need names," he demanded, his hands shaking in a fight between fear and fury. Carla hesitated, her eyes reflecting regret and concern. "James, you need to understand. What I'm about to tell you could change everything." As she slowly began to unravel Sarah's secrets, his heart alternated between anger and despair. Each piece of information felt like a nail being driven into his already fractured heart. Could he really face this reality? The diner's clinking of forks and muffled conversations faded into a distant hum as he absorbed the magnitude of what she was saying. James felt his world tilting again, and the realization struck him with terrifying clarity. The truth, no matter how painful, was now a necessary step on the path to his future, whatever that might look like. But as the night wore on, and Carla's revelations unfolded, he confronted another chilling question: how far would he go to protect his family? As the clock ticked away, the weight of decision loomed overhead, pressing in around him like fog. In that moment of uncertainty, a plan began to take shape in his mind. Perhaps they could rebuild, but first, he would need to uncover every hidden truth. What he didn't yet realize was how deeply those truths would affect everyone involved, pulling the strings of loyalty and love tighter than he ever thought possible. Just as the conversation reached a pivotal point, Carla's phone pinged. Her eyes widened, and she glanced up at him, her breath catching in her throat. "James, you need to see this." And with that, an unexpected twist lurked, ready to reveal something that would change everything. James leaned forward, his pulse racing as Carla fumbled with her phone, a mix of urgency and fear flashing across her face. This was at the moment that might alter everything he thought he knew. He could feel the heat of anxiety rising in his chest, smothering hope in its grip. "What is it?" he pressed, trying to maintain an edge of calm that was quickly slipping away. "What is going on?" Carla's fingers trembled as she unlocked her phone. She turned the screen toward him, her expression caught between sympathy and worry. As he focused on the glowing display, a chill shot through him. It was a video, a brief clip of Sarah and another man. They were laughing, and the light in Sarah's eyes felt like a knife twisting in his heart. "Who is he?" James's voice barely lifted above a whisper, an echo of disbelief crashing through him. "I don't know," Carla admitted, her brow furrowing. "But I think he might be someone she works with. I've seen them at the coffee shop near the hospital." "But I never thought," she trailed off, the weight of the truth hanging heavily between them. James's mind raced, flipping through memories like pages in a book, the way Sarah smiled at him, the whispers they shared, the life they built. And now, it felt like he was standing in the ashes. Was this what you wanted to tell me?" he asked, feeling darker clouds of despair gathering. "No," she replied, a hint of remorse tinging her voice. "I saw something else too. You need to know." She took a breath, steadying herself. "There's been talk in the hospital. It's not just an affair, James, there might be a child involved." A wave of nausea rolled over him, sending him back in his seat as if he'd been struck. A child? His mind spiraled, confrontations replayed in his head. Had Sarah been hiding more than just an affair? His instincts screamed, the familiar tug of protective anger surging through him. "Are you serious?" he finally managed to say, every word laced with disbelief. "She would never." "What do you mean talk?" "I overheard some nurses whispering. They said Sarah would be taking some leave soon, maternity leave," Carla explained, her voice unwavering despite the tremor in her hands. James felt the world closing in around him, the air thick with betrayal. Images of their children flashed in his mind, innocence lost. He couldn't breathe. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he shot back, anger bubbling over. "You let me live with this ignorance. I didn't think it was true," she cried, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I thought maybe it was just gossip. I didn't want to hurt you more than you already were." Her vulnerability softened him for a moment, but it was just a fleeting flicker. "Now I need to know who this man is," he said resolutely, his tone darkening again as questions flooded his mind. "I need to confront him. I need to find out if it's true." Carla visibly flinched but nodded slowly, catching his fierce look. "James, think about what you're doing. You're talking about violence. How does that help your family?" But even as he wrestled with her words, a part of him felt a deep sense of purpose. This wasn't just about confronting Sarah anymore, it was about reclaiming his life. The kids deserved to know the truth, even if it shattered their world. As the realization set in, he could almost feel the ground shifting beneath him. Steeling himself, he met Carla's eyes. "We need to dig deeper. If there's truth to this, I need to know who I'm up against." Carla's phone buzzed again, and her expression sharpened with alarm. "James, there's one more thing. I just got a message from one of the nurses. It says they're about to reveal something crucial regarding Sarah. Something she's been hiding." A storm of emotions swirled in his chest as he held her gaze, fear clawing at the edges of his resolve. This wasn't just a fight for answers, it was a fight for the very soul of his family. And he was ready to walk into the darkness if it meant finding the truth. "Tell me everything," he urged, determination flooding his voice. As Carla began to share the details of the message, James felt a weight settle heavily in his heart. Whatever he uncovered next would either destroy him or lead him back to the light, but at what cost? The night deepened around them, and with it came the chilling realization that the deeper he dug, the more perilous the road ahead would be. Carla's voice wavered as she recounted the nurse's frantic message. "She said that Sarah was involved in something much bigger than we thought. There's a chance that this man, he might not just be a fling." The nurse mentioned something about Sarah needing help, financial help. James felt the blood drain from his face. Financial help? It twisted his stomach. What does that even mean? He demanded, disbelief lacing his words. She implied that this man might be more than just a coworker, Carla said carefully, choosing her words. Maybe he has been giving her money. Maybe he is supporting her and the baby. A punch to the gut. Each revelation felt like a new blow, the air around him growing heavy and suffocating. He leaned back in the chair, the walls of their shared life closing in around him. So it's not just an affair, he muttered, more to himself than to Carla, absorbing what she had revealed. It's a whole life somewhere else. It's possible, James, she said softly, concern etched on her face. But we need to confirm it. I don't want to see you hurt any more than you already are. He could barely focus, his thoughts spiraling. What would this mean for their family if it turned out to be true? His heart clenched at the thought of his children, innocent in all of this. He needed to act, to know, to confront Sarah, but a part of him was terrified. What do I do now? He asked, his voice tinged with desperation. You need to gather evidence, real proof, Carla advised, her eyes narrowing with determination. Find out who this man is first. Then, and only then, confront Sarah. You can't go into this blindly. James nodded slowly, even though the idea felt like peeling back the skin of his own heart. Fine. Who can help us? Maybe someone else at the hospital? Carla hesitated, her brow furrowing deeper. I might be able to ask around, hear some whispers. But if you start digging too deep, it could get messy. People talk. All I care about is the truth, he replied, the sharpness of his resolve solidifying like steel. Just be careful, James, Carla warned, brushing a hand through her hair nervously. People will get hurt. His mind surged with images of Sarah smiling, of their children playing in the backyard. Good memories now infected with doubt. He couldn't let this continue. They deserved better. Taking a deep breath, James stood up, the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. I need to go to the hospital. I need to find that nurse you mentioned. Carla's voice trailed off, but he was already moving toward the door, determined to uncover the core of the labyrinth they had fallen into. Tell me where I can find her, he urged, adrenaline flooding his veins. Carla relayed the information, her tone urgent, but all he could think of was how many lies were woven into the fabric of their life. James stepped into the night, the cool air hitting his face like a slap. He needed answers, and he needed them now. Each step felt like marching into battle, his heart pounding with both fear and the fire of resolve, but deep inside, he wondered, did he truly want to know what lay ahead? Would the truth truly set him free, or would it lead to destruction? As he arrived at the hospital, shadows loomed in his mind. What terrifying truths lay in store? The corridors felt colder, his heart hammering as he entered, the dread growing thicker with each footfall. Would he be able to face the darkness waiting for him? Would the answers he sought simply unravel his world even further? James took a step forward, the truth calling him like a siren in the dark. He braced himself for what was to come. The hospital's fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a harsh glare on the pale blue walls. James could feel the tension clenching his jaw with every step he took. Each footfall echoed his mounting dread as he navigated the familiar maze of the hospital, the place where so many memories had been made brimming with laughter and love. Now it felt like a trap. His mind raced back to happier days with Sarah. The laughter in her eyes, how she'd hold their children, and the family dinners that had felt so solid, so real. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog swirling around his thoughts. He had to focus. No more distractions. Finally, he reached the nurse's station, a hub of constant activity. Tension hung in the air, but this wasn't the busy hum he remembered. Today it felt charged, electric with the undercurrent of secrets. He spotted a nurse he recognized from previous visits, Mary, friendly and warm, always quick with a smile. James, right? She greeted, her voice cheerful yet cautious. A spark of hope lit in his chest, but it was dimmed by the weight of his purpose. Yeah, it's me. I need to talk to you about Sarah. The words tumbled out, urgency woven through every syllable. Mary's expression changed, the smile faltering. What about her? I heard she's in trouble. I don't know the details, but he hesitated, swallowing hard, but I need to understand what is going on. I heard she might be involved with someone. A man. The noise around them faded slightly, as if the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Mary's eyes shifted, studying him with an intensity that made his heart race. I can't say much, you know, patient confidentiality. Her voice dropped low, her eyes darting around as if seeking eavesdroppers. Please, Mary, he urged, leaning closer, desperation washing over him. She's my wife. I have to know. Is she safe? If someone is a danger to her, to our family, I need to know that. After a long pause, she sighed, looking away. Look, I can't give you specifics, but I've seen her with a man. He comes around a lot. Displays of affection that aren't typical at work. And, she's been anxious lately. Like something's weighing on her. Anxious? The word twisted painfully in his gut. What about the financial help? I can't confirm that, she said quickly. But. I'd be careful. Not everything is as it seems. Trust me. Her words hung in the air, a cryptic warning that only deepened his unease. Was Sarah truly in over her head? Can I ask you just one more thing? He pressed, fear escalating through him. How do I find out more about this man? Who is he? She hesitated, glancing around again. I can't give you names, but she lowered her voice even more. He's got connections. Not someone to mess with. Be cautious. Whatever danger he represents may not only be for Sarah. It could affect you, too. James felt his chest tighten, the air slipping from his lungs. The dread that had clawed at him since Carla's call was now a tangible presence. This was more than he had anticipated. Thank you, Mary, he said, trying to keep the tremor out of his voice. I really appreciate it. As he turned to leave, her voice called him back. James, promise me you'll take care of yourself. It's easy to lose yourself in all this confusion. I promise, he replied, though the promise felt weighted, an anchor threatening to pull him down into the depths of uncertainty. As he stepped out into the crisp night air, his heart raced. Now he had a name to chase, a mystery to unravel, but how deep did this rabbit hole go? What was truly at stake? James felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff. He could feel the urge to jump, to dive into the unknown. But every instinct screamed at him to turn back. What kind of world was he about to step into? And what dangers awaited him? The night air was cold and biting, sending shivers up James's spine. He took a deep breath, trying to gather his thoughts. The truth was out there, held in the shadows of that hospital, wrapped in a mystery that now threatened to consume his family. James walked towards his car like he was in a trance. He felt the weight of Mary's words pressing down on him. A man with connections. What connections? The thought made his stomach churn. What kind of danger had Sarah gotten herself into? With every hesitation, he resisted the urge to call her. What could he even say? Hey, honey, are you cheating on me with a dangerous man? His mind raced, imagining every scenario. He turned the key in the ignition and the engine roared to life, but he hesitated, hands gripping the steering wheel. He needed to find this man. To confront him, or at least learn what he could about Sarah's life outside their home. But the fear of what he might discover was like a weight in his chest, hard to breathe through. He didn't want to admit it, but a part of him felt betrayed. Could he truly grasp everything that was unraveling? With determination, he set his course for the local bars Sarah used to frequent with friends. It had become a routine in the past few months, a promise to unwind after a long week. That fire inside him grew as he thought about it. He had to talk to someone. Maybe they had seen her with this man. The bar was dimly lit, filled with chatter that seemed to amplify James's anxiety. He took a seat at the bar, ordering a drink that he hoped would quell the storm inside him. He glanced around, searching for familiar faces. Panic bubbled within him. What if he asked the wrong person? As he took a sip, the bartender, a young woman with bright red hair and a warm smile, caught his eye. You look like you could use a friend, she said, leaning across the bar. I'm not sure a drink is going to help, James replied, forcing a smile. Trust me, sometimes it does, she said in a tone that implied she had her fair share of secrets. You here on your own? Just looking for someone, he admitted, unsure how much to reveal. Have you seen Sarah around? My wife? Her eyes widened slightly, and James could tell she knew something. I have, actually. She was here last week talking to a guy. Didn't he catch his name, though? Did they seem close? He asked, adrenaline surging through him as he braced for her answer. Close enough, she said, biting her lip. But then, she's always friendly. I wouldn't think much of it if it was anyone else. Except this guy, there was a different vibe. Like they were into each other. His stomach turned. He tightened his grip on the glass, the cool surface biting into his palm. That's helpful, but is there any way you can remember more? What he looked like, or anything at all? She hesitated, biting the inside of her cheek. I didn't get a good look. Just a glimpse. But he had dark hair, kind of tall. Looked serious. Serious? James echoed, frustration coursing through him. He could already feel the walls closing in. What does that mean? The bartender offered him a sympathetic look. Sorry, that's about all I remember. Just be careful. Right. Thanks, he muttered, his mind racing. Every name, every description felt like stones being piled on top of his chest. He slid off his stool, determination shooting through him again. He had to find this man. Had to confront whatever truth was waiting on the other side. As he walked out of the bar into the cold night air, one thought echoed in his mind: what if this man wasn't just a stranger? What if he was someone connected to their lives, someone James would never expect? The night stretched out before him, filled with a dread tinged with growing resolution. He would get to the bottom of this. He had to. But what else awaited him in the shadows? Would he like what he found? James stepped into the night, the cool air rushing against his face, mixing with the rising anxiety within him. Each breath felt heavy as he walked toward his car, his mind fixated on the bartender's words. He fumbled with the car keys, glancing down the street, half expecting the dark-haired man to appear out of the shadows, a specter hovering just beyond the light. What did this man want with Sarah? What kind of hold could he possibly have over her? Each question twisted like an unrelenting knot in his stomach. He slid into the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline, trying to steady his racing heart. With a shaky breath, he turned on the engine and pulled into the emptiness of the street. The bar faded in his rear view, but the doubt loomed large. He could check their favorite spots, maybe she would be glad to see him. But what if she was embarrassed? Wouldn't it make things worse? The uncertainty gnawed at him like a hunger, insatiable and ruthless. His first stop was the diner where they often shared breakfast on weekends. The neon sign flickered in the darkness, casting a soft pink glow on the pavement. As he entered, the familiar smell of coffee and waffles washed over him, but the warmth felt distant and out of reach. The late-night crowd sat in booths, laughter spilling over tables, while James felt more isolated than ever. He approached the counter where Anna, the waitress with boundless energy, stood pouring a fresh pot of coffee. Her smile faded as she caught sight of his troubled expression. Hey, James. You okay? Have you seen Sarah tonight? He asked, trying to sound casual, but the worry seeped through his tone. Anna's brow furrowed. Not tonight. I usually see her in here on weekends. Is everything all right? Yeah, I just need to find her. It's important. The urgency in his voice surprised even him. Anna nodded slowly, her eyes scanning his face. It was as if she knew something. You sure she wasn't at that bar last week? I heard she was spending more time out. Yeah, she was, he said tersely, not wanting to admit his anxiety. The thought took root again, like seeds of betrayal sprouting in the fertile soil of his mind. But she hasn't been there lately? Not that I've seen. If I do, I'll let her know you're looking for her. Anna placed a reassuring hand on his arm. Everything will be all right, James. He gave her a weak smile, a shadow of hope fighting against the weight that pressed on him. Thanks, Anna. I appreciate it. As he stepped out into the night once more, his breath misting in the cold air, a sharp ring shattered the quietness. He glanced at his phone, it was an unknown number. Heart racing, he answered. James. A voice, cool and calm, floated through the receiver. Who is this? He demanded, the suspicion bubbling to the surface. Someone who knows where Sarah is. Listen carefully, the sharpness in her voice made him freeze. What was going on? Could this be the connection? His mind spun with possibilities. He didn't want to think the worst, but the edge of dread crept in. Meet me at Miller's Park in 20 minutes. I'll tell you everything. With that, the line went dead, leaving him staring at the screen in disbelief. A storm of emotions surged through him, fear, anger, but most of all, a growing compulsion to uncover the truth, what awaited him at the park. Would he finally understand the secrets that had woven through his family's life? With that question echoing in his mind, he sped toward the park, heart pounding as the truth loomed closer. James's heart raced as he navigated the dark streets toward Miller's Park. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, each turn threatening to plunge him deeper into anxiety. Picturing Sarah in danger, he gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white, the cool night air doing little to calm his escalating panic. Miller's Park loomed ahead, a patch of darkness marked only by a few benches and a faded playground. Pulling into the empty lot, he killed the engine and sat in silence for a moment, trying to gather his thoughts. The weight of the unknown pressed down on him. Who was this person? How did they know about Sarah? Stepping out of the car, he felt the chill cut through him, sending shivers down his spine. The moonlight barely illuminated the path, but there was something eerie in the air, an unsettling quiet that heightened his senses. He glanced around, every rustle of leaves or distant sound made him jump. James. A voice called out from the shadows, sending a jolt of fear through him. He turned sharply. A figure emerged, a woman cloaked in darkness but stepping into the light of a nearby lamp. Who are you? He took a cautious step forward, trying to make out her features. I'm the one who called you, she said, her voice steady yet urgent. We need to talk about Sarah. James felt a surge of anger mix with fear. What do you know about her? Where is she? Not here. She glanced around as if sensing danger in the air. You need to listen to me, James. There are things happening that you don't understand. His patience waned. Try me. Taking a deep breath, she seemed to gather her thoughts. Sarah's in trouble. There's a man, a dangerous one, who's been following her. She thought she could handle it, but now it's escalated. His stomach twisted painfully at the thought of Sarah in danger. Why didn't she tell me? She didn't want to worry you, and she thought it was manageable. But it isn't. That's why I reached out. I care about her, and I can help you both. The sincerity in her voice broke through his anger. How do I know you're telling the truth? Because I've seen the signs. I used to work in crisis management, and I know when someone is in over their head. She leaned closer, her tone softening. I'm only here because Sarah matters to me, too. Please, just trust me. For a moment, doubt flickered. Who was this woman? But he couldn't ignore the reality something was wrong. Okay, he said, clarity cutting through his initial reactions. What do we do? We need to find Sarah, and fast. This man, he has connections. We can't let him win. As she spoke, a sense of urgency wrapped around him, igniting a spark of determination. Tell me everything you know, he replied, feeling the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. The woman nodded, her face lit with resolve. Once I do, you'll understand why we need to act tonight. He nodded back, knowing the next steps could be critical. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, a rustling sound interrupted them both. The shadows shifted, and James's heart sank. Did you hear that? He whispered, fear washing over him anew. The woman's eyes widened. We need to go. Now. With urgency fueling their movements, they turned toward the parking lot, but James's heart raced for another reason. What new threat lurked just outside their view? Could this night get any darker? James felt a cold sweat trickle down his back as he moved swiftly, his instincts screaming for him to run. The darkened shadows seemed to pulse with unseen threats, every sound magnified in the tense atmosphere. Where do we go? He hissed, glancing over his shoulder. The woman grabbed his arm, urgency spurring her along. There's a trail behind the playground. We can cut through to the street. I think we'd be safer there. He followed her lead, adrenaline sharpening his focus as they darted into the darkness. The gravel crunched beneath their feet, and their breaths echoed in the thickening silence. James's mind raced with questions. Who was this man? What had he done to Sarah? Each thought ignited a flicker of dread that settled deep in his chest. Your name, he urged, breaking the silence. What's your name? Emily, she said, casting him a quick glance. It's not important right now. What matters is getting you out of here, and to Sarah. Rounding the corner, they skidded to a stop as a figure loomed ahead, a man leaning casually against a streetlight, the glow casting his features in a harsh light that illuminated a chilling smile. Did you really think you could get away? He taunted, his voice dripping with menace. James's heart pounded in his ears, fear surging through him. Who are you? Just a friend, trying to help. The man stepped closer, his posture relaxed but predatory. You've poked your nose where it doesn't belong. Emily stepped in front of James, a fierce protectiveness in her stance. Stay back. This doesn't involve you. Oh, but it does, the stranger replied, his lips curling into a smirk. You two are very much entangled in this mess. In fact, I'd say it's quite the curious situation. A shame if something happened to your little friend, wouldn't you agree? In that split second, panic surged within James, debilitating and overwhelming. Sarah! He shouted, memories of her laughter, her warmth flooding his thoughts. Thoughts of joy turned into dread, twisting in his gut. Or is it your wife you're worried about? The man taunted, his eyes glinting with amusement. Stop! James blurted, desperation wrapping around each word. What do you want? Just a simple game, he said, his demeanor shifting to cold seriousness. Return what belongs to me, and she can have her precious life back. But simple rules, you see, don't disappoint me. Or I can promise you'll regret it. Before James could react, the man stepped back, melting into the shadows as if he'd never been there. What did he mean? James turned to Emily, frantic, eyes wide with confusion. She was already dragging him into motion, urgency set in stone on her face. We have to hurry. We can't let him get to Sarah first. But what did he mean about just focus on getting to her? She interrupted, a note of panic creeping into her voice. The air around them was heavy with uncertainty as they raced forward, their paths tightly intertwined with Sarah hanging in the balance. Emerging onto a quiet road, James could barely catch his breath. Why are you helping me? He finally asked, desperation lacing his tone. Because we can't let fear win. It's what Sarah would want, Emily replied, determination shining in her eyes. With a fierce nod, James felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. But as they moved, his thoughts twisted back to the man's warning, a chill creeping down his spine. What did he know that could turn their lives upside down? James's heart raced once again, knowing the night was far from over. With every step, he wondered what price he would have to pay to save Sarah. Would he be able to confront the truth and face the consequences? Underneath the graying sky, a palpable tension hung in the air as James and Emily hurried toward Sarah's last known location. The weight of their urgency pressed down on them, every footfall echoing the relentless pulse of anxiety. A moment of clarity invaded his thoughts, it was now or never. He would not allow fear to eclipse family. The dim glow of streetlights flickered as they approached an old apartment complex, eerily silent except for the rustling leaves overhead. James's heart thudded like a drum behind his ribs. What if he's already gotten to her? He muttered, dread pooling in his stomach. Emily looked back at him, her expression firm. We won't let that happen. We'll figure this out together. He nodded, grounding himself in her conviction. He had to believe they could reach Sarah in time. As they navigated the hallway of the sterile building, James felt the gravity of every moment pulling him closer to the truth. They reached a door, one that had been left ajar, light spilling out like a beacon against the choking darkness. Stay behind me, James whispered, a fire igniting in his determination. He pushed the door fully open, adrenaline flooding him as he surveyed the room. It was sparsely furnished, shadows weaving between the edges, but it faded in comparison to the troubling sight at its center. There stood Sarah, her back to them, talking to the dark-haired man who had haunted every waking thought. Time froze as every fiber of James's being shouted for him to intervene. Sarah! He shouted, the name tearing from his throat. She turned in shock, dismay creasing her features. The man shifted protectively, stepping forward, his eyes narrowing. You shouldn't have come here. Who the hell are you? James barked, tension vibrating through him like a coiled spring. James, wait! Sarah's voice quivered in protest. No. You don't get to silence me anymore. He replied, anger surging within him, mixing with desperation. He wanted clarity, answers. The man smirked, amusement flickering in his eyes. You really think you can protect her? You're in over your head, James. Enough. Emily stepped past James, her voice cutting through the charged atmosphere. You don't get to play games. We know what you're after. The man's gaze shifted, a flicker of irritation showing. You think this is about you? About her? He motioned toward Sarah dismissively. This is bigger than the two of you. You have what I want, and if you want Sarah back in one piece, you'll return what belongs to me. What belongs to you? James felt a chill creeping up his spine, pieces falling into place. Does a life ring a bell? Or perhaps a choice made long before she met you, he sneered, shifting his weight. I suggest you look closely at the woman you call your wife. Secrets tend to unravel. James felt his resolve shift, uncertainty breaking through his anger. What does that mean? Just then, the atmosphere shifted as Sarah stepped forward, tears brimming in her eyes. James, please. I can explain. This man, I never meant for it to go this far. James turned to her, searching her face for truth amidst the chaos. You were going to tell me everything, right? You were going to choose us. Sarah closed her eyes, taking a step back as if bracing for impact. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep it from you. But I was wrong. Every word was like a blade, slicing through the remnants of their life together. The silence stretched as he grappled with disbelief and hurt. You have to choose now, Sarah. It's either him or us. Sarah's breath caught, and James could see her resolve shatter. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, but it spiraled. I thought I could manage it. The dark-haired man interjected, this isn't about the past anymore, it's about the future. Choose a side or watch everything you love burn. Enough. Emily shouted, anger coursing through her. We want to let you destroy this family. You think you control Sarah? That you have a grip on her life? No more lies. As Emily's voice rang out, James felt a flicker of hope. Maybe together, they could defy the chaos weaving around them. James stepped forward, defiance etched on his face. You don't own her. We will fight this together. The tense standoff hung in the air, breaths held tight, hearts racing in unison. Sarah's eyes, bright with unshed tears, flickered back and forth between the two men. James, the first, choose you. Time slowed to a crawl. Run. Emily urged, breaking the spell. Together, they pushed past the man, adrenaline fueling their escape, the warmth of family pulling them forward. As they fled down the hallway, the sound of footsteps thundered in pursuit, but James wouldn't look back. He gripped Sarah's hand tightly, the heat of determination blazing fiercely in his heart. They would navigate the turmoil ahead, piece by piece. Bursting into fresh air, they darted to the safety of the streetlight, the darkness behind them echoing the weight of secrets and decisions still hanging in the balance. "I'm so sorry, James," Sarah cried, her voice trembling. "It'll never happen again. I promise." The night sky started to clear, uncertainty lingering at their doorsteps, but they had a chance to reclaim their life, together. James looked into her eyes, searching for trust, vulnerability, and resolve. "We start over, no more secrets. It's time to rebuild." He grasped her hand tightly, something grounded and fierce igniting between them. With every step, they walked back into a future laced with hope. Redemption and resilience shone through. The fight was not over, but together, they could face whatever lay ahead. As family, as partners, they would navigate the shadows and bring light back into their lives. At that moment, beneath the stare of the moon, James felt an overwhelming surge of love, a promise to himself and his family. They would not just survive, they would thrive, and with that promise, James knew they could overcome anything. Now, I urge you, dear friends, to take a moment and support this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.